Welcome back to my channel. Ooh, that was so like stereotypical YouTuber, but that's okay because it's Vlogmas slash Bookmas. It doesn't get more stereotypical than that, I fear. I haven't done like a sit down video in a hot minute since like the summer. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my top books of 2025. I can't believe this year has come to an end. It was a pretty solid year of reading. I don't think I DNF'd any books. I mean, I'm filming this in early December, so there is still time to change that, but so far I don't think I've actually DNF'd any books. I'm gonna do these, I guess, in a random order because I just have the pile here and I also have a list pulled up, so I guess the first book I'll talk about is Red Rising. Now, this is sci-fi, and that is not my typical. I will read sci-fi, but I guess this hardcore sci-fi I usually don't pick up. The plot I heard to get into this was The Hunger Games but in space. It is so much more than that, but basically there's this class system and reds are at the bottom and it's like golds at the top and then there's all these other guys in between and this guy who's a red, Darrow. I do love these books. My memory is just not that good, and you're gonna have to bear with me on that. So Darrow, in the very first scene, something very tragic happens to him. Then he makes, I think it's like some deal with some guy. I read this book over the summer. It's like some sort of deal, and he like undergoes this plastic surgery to be gold, and then he's like competing in all these games and like training and all of that. I'm just going from my poor memory, but the fact that I can remember this much is pretty impressive, and I think it shows you how much I enjoyed it. And I remember there being so many plot twists in this book. I remember like, well, obviously I can't say it. What am I thinking? And I remember it leaving off a huge cliffhanger, and I think this is like the original trilogy, but then I think it goes beyond that too. I definitely intend to continue this series. I think I just need to be in the mood for it because I think it's about to get a lot more sci-fi-y rather than just playing games in space, even though that's not really what it is. I understand where they got the Hunger Games in space kind of thing because there is kind of the class system. I mean, every dystopian book, I fear, has that, but then it's more like when they're playing the games and like training and all that. So next book is Assistant to the Villain. Also understand that this is a trilogy and the other books just came out and I only read the first one. It was something about it that really just tickled my fancy. That is such weird language, but that is probably language that that book would use. There was an animal sidekick, Kingsley. Having Kingsley in that book was so special to me because I always love in like Disney movies and all that stuff, an animal sidekick. And having a book with an animal sidekick was something I did not know was missing from my life. But the thing about Kingsley is that he can only write one word at a time. So he'll have his little sign and he'll have his one word, but more on the actual romance of the book. I feel like it's such a good mix of like cozy fantasy, but also high stakes. It's so like a perfect blend of everything. This girl is the assistant to the town's villain. Like, ooh, everyone hates this guy. This guy is evil. He is going to unalive you. And then having this big, evil, scary guy, maybe fall in love with you. I really do like the villain character. He wasn't too like evil, well he was. What am I saying? I just really like the villain character, alright? But also I did like the female main character. She wasn't too like, I think I was afraid she was gonna be a little too pick-me because I was like the most pick-me girl in the whole entire land. But she wasn't, and I appreciate that. Wings of Starlight. Oh my god. If you're a fan of Tinkerbell, Queen Clarion and Mallory. Also the art. Are we serious? Are we serious? Y'all know the movie, The Secret of the Wings, and we like meet Mallory in that movie. Yes, this is Queen Clarion's and Mallory's backstory because in the movie, they kind of tell the story of like, oh, they fell in love, one went to the other side, and then one broke a wing, and they haven't, like, seen each other since. This is that story. It's kind of sad to read, because throughout the book, you know eventually Mallory is going to break his wing. It kind of became a mystery to me, because I was like, how is it gonna happen? Obviously, he goes to the warm side for too long, but, like, why? How? I was trying to piece it together, okay? Yeah, I was still very upset when it happened, obviously, because something in my heart was hoping that maybe they won't get to the part where he breaks his wing and everything's happy and okay, and we just stop before everything gets devastating. But it's kind of also like the romance, you really don't get that third act breakup conflict sort of thing because it has a sadder ending. Is sadder a more sad ending? I like seeing Queen Clarion before she's queen, and even just the other fairies, because there's like the one who's like for autumn, the one for spring. They have like different seasons. I like seeing more of them. I remember the beginning of this book being a little too slow paced for me, but I think once it got to like maybe like page 50, I think I remember it like speeding up a little bit, and I was like, oh, now I'm invested. Just the world of Pixie Hollow. Who isn't gonna enjoy that? I mean, obviously there are people who don't. So next, I'm gonna talk about, I think, my first 5-star of the year. 4 stars. That doesn't seem right. I'm going to talk about Autobiography, which is written by Christina Lauren, which is 2 authors. Right? I think. They're 2 authors and they like co-write books. And Christina Lauren they are a very popular author. Is a popular author? I don't know. I'm going to talk about it like it's one. Christina Lauren is a very popular author, and they've written really big bangers, but I guess this book, since it's YA but yes, Christina Lauren wrote a book called Autobiography, and I believe they are in high school. So 2 boys. It is gay. And one of the boys is a Mormon. I think I read this book in like 1 or 2 sittings. But I don't even think just the reading it in one sitting really tied this book together for me. I remember it being on the longer end, and I think for a YA romance, again, sometimes it just drags out. I remember just liking how it was such a unique concept. I really liked the scenes where they were at the Mormon boy's house and just kind of seeing the family, and oh, they have these things on their walls, and oh, in his room he has these books. I remember exactly how I envisioned the house when I read it, just because of the way it was described. So also the setting descriptions in this book were really good, because the fact that I could still remember it 12 months later, that's impressive. I also just like, I guess, just coming of age stories. Sometimes you just vibe with a book, and that's okay. Alright, next I'm going to talk about The Pairing. This book, the concept, not that outlandish actually. It's not that outlandish, and then I'm gonna say what I'm about to say. So it's about 2 exes, and they go on this European food tour that they were originally gonna do together, but they canceled it because they broke up, and then they both happened to do it at the same time, because I think they had like 4 years to use up the credit or something, and I think it was like month 47, so they have 48 months to use it, but then like month 47 they both do it, and they both don't know that they're doing it. So, and it is dual POV if I remember, but I don't think we got the other person's point of view until like halfway through the book, which I really liked. I thought I was gonna hate it, because I think while reading it I was like, ooh, I would love to know what the other one is thinking right now. But Theo and Kit, I remember really liking. I think it was Theo that I related to, and I think when you relate to a character, it makes it just that much more, I don't know the word. It just makes it, I guess you get more invested. Ooh, it's getting even darker out, and these lights are coming more into awesome. And also going through the different countries in Europe, I like the setting. You know, I just think the scenes in London, especially Heathrow Airport, because that is the worst airport I have ever been to in my entire existence. The gay books just don't end, do they? Because I want to talk about The Survivor Wants to Die at the End. Now, this is the 3rd book in the they both die at the end. I remember liking the first one, not like, oh my goodness, this is the best book ever. I remember liking the first one, hating the second one, and I decided to read the 3rd one because the concept sounds so interesting of like, oh my goodness, what if you want to get that death cast phone call and you're not? And when I first saw this book, I think it was like over 600 pages. Now, I would also like to say I listened to the audiobook of this, but I have seen the physical book in like Barnes and Nobles. I feel like when you're listening to an audiobook, yes, you see how much time is left, but I'm not really paying attention to that, and I guess it just feels shorter anyway, because I feel like even like a 200-page book can be like 10 hours depending on the reading speed. So I tend not to take the length of the audiobook too seriously, and yet I wish that book never ended. One of the boys, he was in the family that was like in charge of like death cast and all that stuff, and a big part of the book was like, how does Deathcast work? So Paz is the one who's like very miserable in his life and whatever, but then Alano, the heir to the Deathcast throne, he wants everyone like, oh, just because Deathcast is in existence, like live every day to your fullest, and they meet, and I feel like I'm already saying too much. Next, the games, the Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping. Haymitch still feels like Haymitch. What can I not say about this book? I absolutely adore Haymitch, and it's kind of sad that we meet all the tributes and you know they're not going to make it. I think it just adds that extra weight, but also kind of like with Wings of Starlight, you're like, you know what's gonna happen, you just don't know how, and it's worse than you ever could have imagined. Especially Ampert. Well, because also, there are still plot twists in this book that you don't expect. Like the Reaping. What? What? So it's already thrown me for a curveball right from the very beginning. And I know people complained, it's like, oh, this was just fan service for all the old characters, because we do see a lot of characters younger. Me personally, I don't care. I ate it up. I love seeing people as their younger selves and just how much has changed, but also how much has stayed the same. And especially Haymitch's language. I mean, I guess I get nervous with any sequel that it would just explain things that don't need an explanation. I feel like that's kind of the prequel curse, but I don't think this fell trap to that. But I am so glad this book exists, and I cannot wait for the movie. I'm so excited. All right, I have 2 books left, and I feel like I have discussed these 2 books in particular a whole bunch. Let me see if I can use my phone flashlight. Ooh, I have a little ring light now, guys, between us. This is a 6-star book for me. I broke the scale with this one. I think it's also because at the time that I read it, it just holds a special place in my heart, and I have heavily annotated this book, and I need to go back and even do more annotations, like reflecting back on this, because at the time that I read this book, I was going through a friendship breakup, and this book, while it's much more than that, includes a friendship breakup and people leaving the group chat and people who may or may not have been friends fall in love and all of that, and may or may not hit a little too close to home, all right? Roisin, that's her, and her friends, they're having this multi-celebratory event. There's like, I think it's a birthday and engagement and the launch of her boyfriend's TV show. And then during the TV show, Roisin is noticing things that might be a little too close to reality. And then she does some investigating and seeing, oh, if that thing is true, is this other thing true that I don't know about yet? I will say, Vari McFarlane, I think Scotland is where she's from, so some of the language and the lingo, which is also why I really liked reading it on Kindle, because I could just hold it down and be like, hey, what does that word mean? But it didn't take me out of the story. And this little book, it's so, if cats disappeared from the world, what a sad concept, what a sick and twisted concept anyone should think about. I definitely don't want to think about it. I prefer cats to dogs. I loved listening to it. I highly recommend. That is, shout out to that narrator. Shout out everything about this book, actually. I know this is translated originally from Japanese. I don't think I've ever read a translated book before. I think this is the first book I ever read that's been translated from another country, another language. I'm not that dumb, guys, I swear! This book had me staring at a wall when I was done with it. And I was on an airplane when I finished it. I was literally just listening to the audiobook, looking out the window on an airplane. But it's about this guy, I think he's an unnamed narrator. He finds out that he is not gonna live. And then he runs into this guy, basically the devil. He's named Aloha, and he says, for each day you give something up, you can live another day. And so it starts off with simple stuff like phones. Like, everyone complains how they need to get off their phone. Like, but then it gets a little more deeper, and we also explore this guy's past relationships with people, not just like romantic relationships, but also like family relationships. So much happens in this little thin book, and it takes over the course of only a few days. Yeah, I got an existential crisis after reading this book. I will say, I did watch the movie. I think it's a pretty good adaptation. I will say also, though, they did change the ending in the movie, and why? Also, this cat's name is Cabbage. Cabbage deserves the world. I also need to find more books that are centered around cats because, but maybe not ones as sad as this. I need like happy cat books. So, this is the stack of physical books I was able to talk about. Thank you all so much for watching. Happy holidays. I'm not as strong as I thought I was, and these books are really heavy and they're gonna collapse me and I'm gonna turn into Flat Stanley.